lifted by the music?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it wonderful? They couldn't have chosen better music for my talk if they had tried. It's interesting, I was working on my talk last night and I was practicing, and it's been a while since I've been up here. And this morning, of course, the perfect quote comes in after I had everything done. So I want to start out with, imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire. You will what you imagine. And at last you create what you will. Take that in. It'll be up here afterwards if you don't get it. We'll leave it up here so you can copy them. George Bernard Shaw. Isn't that an amazing quote for what we're talking about this month with this creativity? And then we're moving as of Monday or Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever day it is, into freedom. You can, absolutely. Is that better? Everybody see? Okay. I didn't see. The cliff notes. So, first of all, the talk title is Success Begins in Mind. So I have a question for you. How do you know that you've been a success at something? How do you know? The feeling. What else?
The results.
The results sometimes. Anybody else?
Other people are happy.
Other people are happy. Great. So there's no wrong answers, you know. Everything's right.
Feel like doing it again?
You feel like doing it again. Awesome. So what I'd like you to do right now is do a little experiment for me. I'm a science teacher, for those of you who don't know, so experiments are my thing. So if you close your eyes, and just check in with your body. Are you relaxed? Are you comfortable? And I'm going to say a word to you. And I want you to notice how that word feels. Failure. Just check in with your body, your mind, anything. Just check in. See what that feels like. And go ahead and open your eyes. Anybody want to share where they felt it? Nina?
My throat.
In my throat, in her throat. Kathy?
Pit of my stomach.
Pit of my stomach.
Just my whole body.
Whole body just went down. Anybody else?
Tightness in chest.
Tightness in the chest.
Breath.
Little sickness there? Okay, so close your eyes again. Go back to your happy place. Tiny dancer. Tingle bell. Dancing on the stage. Happy place. Okay? And I want you to check in with your body again. And I'm going to say another word to you. Success. Now check into your body. See where that one falls. See how that works for you. Now open your eyes. Now, well, how did that feel and where did it feel in your body? Enlightened, lifted, okay? Anybody else? Jacob?
My head puffed up a little bit.
Your head puffed up. I noticed that. I could see it going.
I had an eraser that erased that failure in my stomach.
An eraser that erased the failure.
I felt the expansiveness.
Expansiveness. So do you see that the power of words can change our state in seconds? Because that only took about 30 seconds to do. Robert Schuller said, failure doesn't mean you are a failure. It just means you haven't succeeded yet. Dr. Kim would say, it's not failure, it's feedback. Exactly. So, when I was in high school, a few years ago, I went to an all-girls Catholic high school. And my chemistry teacher's name was Sister Victoria. And I loved Sister Victoria. She was my idol. Even though she was a nun and I had no intentions of ever becoming a nun, she was still my idol. She was gentle and she was kind and she was interesting. And she was engaging as an instructor. So one day I walked into the classroom And on the demonstration desk in the front is this tube. And inside this tube, there's some stuff. You can see that there's something in there. It was kind of a creamy color. And next to it, there was a clear beaker of something, liquid. And she picked up the beaker, and she poured it in. And as the liquid went down this column, the colors started coming out. Bright blues, vibrant green, oranges, yellows, reds, as it trickled down. And it just kind of layered itself in this rainbow. And it was magic to me. I could not believe what I was seeing. And I said, that's what I want to do. Blowing things up was also a good thing, but that was the hook for me. That was when I made the decision that I was going to become a chemistry teacher someday. So fast forward to 2006. I moved to Sacramento. I'm living in an apartment after having lived in houses for years and years and years. Trust me, apartment living was not my cup of tea other than the swimming pool. So I decided to go and look for a house. Now my experience with this area goes back to my childhood when I was a dancer, and we would come to Roseville and put on exhibition dances. So I only knew Roseville. Never heard of Orangevale or Citrus Heights or any of the other Folsom, nothing. Knew nothing. So I decided I was going to go live in Roseville. At least I knew the name. So I gave my list of things that I wanted and desired in a house to my realtor. It had to have air conditioning, please. It had to have a bathtub, please. It had to have a subfloor as opposed to concrete slab floors. It had to have a room in it that I could set up my massage table so that if I wanted to have a massage or do energy work, I could do that in my home. So I had this, and there were more, lots of things on the list. And I handed it to my realtor, and we went out looking for houses. And she would show me things, and it's like, this isn't, this isn't on the list. So don't show me things that aren't on my list. So I was very focused and very short-sighted in what I was looking for. So we found this house, and it was the house, the perfect house. It had everything I was looking for, everything. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It had been remodeled. It had a fireplace. It had some other things to it, but it was the house, right? Very light and airy. So as I move along and I'm looking at my talk, I'm a Google queen. I am always on Google. I do not know what I did without Google before, except for looking in those encyclopedias that didn't have current, it's like they were still calling countries things that they weren't anymore. But I Googled everything. So I Googled success in mind, begins in mind. And I got a lot of business websites, which was kind of interesting. And many of them had a very spiritual bent to them. But I wanted to be a little more on the spiritual side. We are a spiritual community. So I found Deepak Chopra. Anybody familiar with his 7 spiritual laws of success? Okay, so this is going to be a review for some of you, and some of you it's new stuff. So his first law is the law of pure potentiality. And that means be silent, meditate, and lose the judgment on anything and everything, including how's your meditation going. Sometimes it's great, sometimes not so great. Sometimes the silent is a little difficult with the golden retriever in the house. Okay. The second law is the law of giving. And this is a very powerful law, because what it says is that you have gifts and talents that are uniquely yours. Each and every one of you in the room has your own set of unique talents. And you need to give them. Send them out into the world. And by the same token, because everybody has a unique set of gifts and talents, you need to be open to receiving them. There are certain things that I can't and don't want to do or learn. Accounting is one of them. I have Linda. She has the gifts and the talents, and I was grateful to turn that over to her. And the key to this is don't just give it once. There has to be a flow of energy. So as you're receiving, it opens you up so that you can give more. And you might discover that you have gifts and talents that you didn't even know you had. Because everybody's a mirror, and everybody's going to bring out the best in you. I never thought I could draw. Guess what? I can. Not as pretty as Barbara can, or Maurice, but I can draw, and I can actually stay in the lines. The third law is the law of karma. Basically, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Newton said that. Cause and effect. You do this, then this happens. However you want to word it, something is going to result in something else happening. Always. Always. If there's a positive act, we're going to call it a positive act, there's probably going to be a positive result. If you hang out in the negative area and there's a negative thing going on, probably what you're going to see is something not so special. Okay? Number 4 is the law of least effect. And this basically says that we need to accept that there are events, people, and situations happening in our lives all the time. It reminds me of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, that says, the only moment you have is the one right now. The past is done. There's not a lot we can do about, and we are unclear about the future unless you have those special talents and can tap into them. And even then, there's free will. So, we have to accept people for who they are and who they show up in, the events for just the events as they are, and the situations that show up just as the situations show up. And then release the rest. Number 5 is my favorite, I think. Maybe. Today it is. Yesterday was different. The law of intention and desire. Inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanism for its fulfillment. In every intention and desire, there is the mechanism for fulfillment. Which means that as soon as you have a desire or an intention, something kicks into gear to make that happen. So it's important that we are clear about our desires. And we make a list of them so that we're not shooting out into the universe things that we don't necessarily want. Reverend Sheila used to always say, if I prayed it in, I can pray it right back out. And then she'd go, just saying. And you have to trust that when things don't go your way, there may be a higher purpose that you're not aware of. Many times, I got laid off from a job. The higher purpose was the motivation for me to go back to school. I just stayed in that job forever. It was a great job. I got paid a lot of money to do it. Not a lot. So trust when things don't go your way, there's a greater purpose. The law of detachment. How many of you are good at detaching from those things you really like? Yeah, me neither. Allow yourself, first of all, and others to be who you and they are. You can't change it. Tried it with an ex-husband. Didn't work. You cannot force solutions. If somebody doesn't want to be with you, they're not going to stick around. No matter what you do. No matter the promises that are made, if somebody doesn't want to change, they're not going to. The only person that you're accountable to is yourself. So let everybody be who they are. And the last one is the law of Dharma. The law of Dharma says, seek your higher self. Did we not hear that in the music today? The theme. Discover your unique talents. Take the time to figure out who you are and what you have to bring to each and every person that you meet. And serve others above all. There's nothing like getting out of the funkiness by serving other people. Whether it's your pet or your person or your people around you, service is key. And that's scientific. They've proved that people who serve have less incidences of depression. It's hard to be depressed when you're in service of somebody else. It really is. So, I'm back in high school. I graduate. I go to college. I spent 2 quarters at De Anza and got bored out of my mind. And by the way, this is when we still had slide rules. And I was taking calculus. I can do 2 + 2 on a slide rule. After that, it goes all away. So, time passed, and I didn't enter college again seriously until I was 30 years old. And I decided that I'm going to go in. They take a look at my transcripts. They're like, oh my God, you did really well in school. So we're going to put you in physics with calculus and general chemistry, and you're going to be great. And by the way, we're going to tack on 2 more classes, so you're carrying 21 units. And I'm married at the same time. This was the first time I experienced failure. I didn't get it. I did not understand calculus. I saw no point in it. I was in my physics class, and there's formulas that you're using, and it says that if you do this formula and you do this story problem run, you got a train over here and a train over here. As the trains are coming down the track, will they collide? Well, mathematically, they don't. Mine did. I'm sorry. I live down the street from the train station. You put those suckers on train tracks and they're going at each other. Sooner or later, there's going to be a crash. But mathematically, they don't. So I'm struggling. Really, really struggling. I'm not remembering a lot of things that were just natural to me. And I had to drop classes. And my mom kept going, why don't you major in English? You're really good at that. It's like, but that's not my passion. It is a passion because I love to read, but I don't want to teach To Kill a Mockingbird 40 years. Chemistry, I can blow things up, Mom. You don't understand. So, I'm dropping classes and I'm stepping back into classes that are prerequisites for these classes. And it was a hard pill for me to swallow because I'd always been the smart one in the family. I had that label growing up. I was good at school and I liked it. So we go to that house that I was purchasing, and I have to move this because it's really bugging me. Sorry. Here we go. Yeah, we just move things around. So, we go to this house, and this house is gorgeous. It's got a koi pond in the front courtyard. It's light, it's airy. I got my down payment, I got my financing all taken care of. And she sold it to somebody else. And I was devastated. And this is one of the few times where my spirit guides actually showed up, and what's standing on my house is like, this is our house. Don't you get it? This is ours. And I was really, really upset. Call my mom. She says, no. Go look at this other house. Go look at this other house over here. I said, Mom, it doesn't have central air in it. I'll die in it I'll melt. In one summer, I'll melt. And she says, no, you have to go check this out. Now, my mother's about this big. But when my mother gets something in her mind, she's like a dog with a bone. She is not going to get off of it until the kid does what I want her to do, what she wants me to do. Right? So I said, fine, I'll go to the house. So I called my realtor and said, we have to go look at this house. She goes, it's not on the list. I said, I get it. Totally get it. But we're going to go look at the house. Just to say to my mother, I looked at the house and. So we go over there, we look at the house, and I walked in the door. And I looked around. So then Jack Canfield comes up into my sphere of vision. Anybody know who Jack Canfield is? Chicken Soup for the Soul and for everybody else. I think there's even a chicken soup for dogs, cats, whatever, chicken soup for everybody. Jack Canfield says, believe in yourself. How many of you do that 100% of the time? Yeah, maybe. About 80%? Most of the time? Have some trouble on some days, and some days it's good? Yeah. But he says you need to believe in yourself if you want to be successful. He says that your subconscious is always being programmed, no matter what. We've heard this, 50,000 thoughts a day are coming into us all the time. And we're filtering it, and we're taking some, and some are rolling off, and some of them are going right down here into our belief system, are they not? So we have to monitor what's going in and what we're keeping and holding on to. So if we're taking in 49,999 negative thoughts, what do you think our life's going to look like? I don't think I would go there. On the other hand, if we are mindful enough to say, ooh, don't want to think that. Don't want to look in the mirror and go, look at the pounds. Don't want to go there, cancel that. So it's very important that we watch what we're thinking so that we know what we're putting in our subconscious. Now, at this age, for all of us in the room are adults, we have some stuff that went in there without our knowledge. But now that we're a little more awake spiritually, we can pay attention to those things, and we can really take a look at and stop and say, is that something I really want to associate myself with? And the answer for me is many times, no thank you. No thank you. Control your self-talk, the monkey mind, goes along with that subconscious, because if this guy gets running amok, down here is going to be just recording. Oh, this is what you said. Oh, this is what you said. Oh, we got this one. Oh, yeah, we got this one like 6 times. We're going to keep this one. We're going to be building on this one over here. And he says use affirmations. Those of us in Unity or came out of Unity or other New Thought churches know what an affirmation. Here we use afformations, which are taking affirmations and putting them in the form of a question. So I am gorgeous. An affirmation would be, why am I so gorgeous? Because David did my hair on Sunday. So we go back to the house. And the house I didn't get. And I'm at the front door of this house, and I opened the door, and I walked in, and I said, oh my God. I know that was right. You don't know. The house was mine. I knew it. The minute I walked into it. And it wasn't the pink walls, because truly every room in the house had a pink wall in it. Some rooms combined with turquoise and pink. Charming. Thank God for paint. Was it the maple floors? Was it the stone around the fireplace? Or the stone floors in the kitchen? Or the well-designed custom cabinets? Or that 7 by 12 foot massage room? Remember my list? It was all there. It even had a bathroom that had grand potential, which has been achieved, by the way. It was remodeled about 4 years ago. And I made an offer on the house, and the house is mine. It's where I live today. And it is exactly what I asked for, down to everything except for the air conditioning. But we have window air conditioners, and they work quite nicely. And are actually cheaper than some of them. And then I went back to college. It took me 5 years because I had to work at the same time. And I'm taking my last semester. And the last class I had to take was called Advanced Physical Chemistry. Nestor, do you remember that one? Did you have to take it?
I think that
And it was the hardest class I ever had to take. It was the difference between having a Bachelor of Arts in Science and a Bachelor of Science in Science. It's not much of a distinction except to me, because my intention from the get-go was that I wanted a Bachelor of Science degree, not a Bachelor of Arts. It was the difference of one class. Every Saturday, every Sunday, every waking moment, I had Sam and Bobby tutoring me on how to get through this class. It was hard. You had to take molecules and put them in your brain and twist them and turn them in certain ways and then write them out on a piece of paper. And I couldn't do it. Visually, I couldn't create it in my head. I took the class, I took the final, I got a D. Now, up to that point, D's had never been acceptable. But I have to tell you, I got that D on that report card, I went, yes! Yay for the D! I got my D, yes. I was so excited. I have never worked that hard for a grade, much less a D, in my life. And I was grateful beyond measure. So I'd like to close up and leave you with a few thoughts. Set realistic goals based on what you truly want. If I had succumbed and gone and become an English teacher, I'd have been content. I'd have been okay with it. But it wasn't what I truly wanted. I wanted to blow things up. Nothing in life happens by chance. Nothing. There's a divine plan, and we all know it. Yes, there's free will in there, but we truly do work under something greater than us. We are all here by divine guidance. You have the power to change aspects of your life you aren't content with. You, and you, and you, and you, and you, only you have the power to make the changes in your life to create the life that you want through desire and intention. So one more. Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire. You will what you imagine. And at last, you create what you will. It's all you. Thank you so much.